Warning, warning. 2 idiots are making sandwiches at Subway. Please cover your ears and await further instructions.
Hello, and welcome back, Tan Lovelies, to another lovely Tan episode.
Another epic episode of Discovering TD.
This is my co-host, YouTuber Darnell.
Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about another no sleep episode, right?
That's a lot of blood. That's a lot of blood.
But is the blood hyper-realistic, and is it from my eyeballs?
I saw that Mario's health had gone down by 2. In the ordinary game, it would only normally go down by 1. I knew I was looking for a tear in this world.
I can feel Cthulhu.
I can feel my sanity cracking looking at this number.
That's the type of shit that happens in Delta Green or Call of Cthulhu, and you lose like 30 sanity immediately. It's just like nothing.
Going insane.
Your mind can't comprehend the video game binary bits and pieces going against its code.
My mind, my thoughts.
We talking about
I love the idea you can like feel after like you clutch your head and go, my sanity.
Give it back.
I took a pretty bad hit to my sanity there, Sergeant.
Can I go home for the day? Do you think they'd let you do that if you asked really nicely? Like you're in the middle of war and you come back to your camp and you're like, I took a pretty big hit to my sanity. Can I take the day off?
Well, if they say no, you have to prove you're crazy, right? And they don't want that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
I need a mental health day in the middle of war. Me when I scheduled 3 weeks of PTO during the skirmish.
You know it when it's going to be in advance.
Yeah, but that's why I have the precog power. So I can schedule PTO for all the worst days.
You're like at home and you see your phone buzzing, like when we need you to outflank them, you're like, not on my hours.
AS character who like studies an Abra facade to get precog so they can know which days they don't want to go to work. It's a good concept. Oh, it's going to be really bad today. I've got a tickle in my throat, innit?
There was some more slander today.
Have to lay low.
Well, actually, I'm not saying did you see. You did it. You slandered me again.
I was part of it. Part of a greater...
You're a ringleader. Did
you see the image I posted with the JJK panels?
I did.
That's how we talk about AS now, after you.
And do you see I finally was able to make a response to this kind of slander.
I saw people didn't like it, but I thought it was funny. Now listen! I understand that sometimes people can misinterpret each other's words. That's a natural risk that comes with all sorts of communication. It's not something that an understanding person like me experiences, but I acknowledge it all the same. That's just the sort of virtuous person I am. I'm not the type to dismiss the viewpoints of others. That's a perfectly naturally perfect way to coexist with others in society. Don't you think? That's why it irks me when people... Is this Regulus bit? It took me a second.
It is the Regulus bit, yeah.
This guy. I can't read the rest of this now that I know that it's tainted it like poison in the well.
You have to tell them.
That's why it irks me when people like you go throwing their weight around and demanding that other people adhere to your own narrow view of the world. What gives you the authority to do that? Did some god tell you you're the arbiter of what's right and wrong on this planet? I severely doubt that. Even if it did, as someone who doesn't follow that same god... That's pretty good. I'm not subject to whatever counterfeit high ground you want to wave around on. What's more offensive, more irksome, more problematic are the things you're saying about me? Misogynist? Sexist? That's not true at all. I love all women everywhere, and yet you're trying to make me seem like the opposite is true. You're presenting a false image of me to others, you know? That's basically an assault on my very identity. You're violating my right to self-expression, and you think that's okay? It's not the sort of thing a virtuous guy like me can stand for. Normally, I'd be willing to let such a little thing go, but your persistence in these falsehoods, assuming they're not delusions, which is another story entirely, means I just can't do that. Because of you, I've lost the freedom to let this matter go. You're really good. You've really nailed the voice. That's another of my rights you violated. Who knows which one is next? When scum like you keeps trying to take away my rights one by one, am I supposed to just sit there and take it? Even little animals exercise self-defense. I'm just defending myself from a dirty thief.
And then I blow your head off.
And then Weiser, my favorite response, a cis man is criticized for his opinions of women and immediately turns into Zune the Immortal. That was really funny.
Oh my God. I can't defend myself. I've got no rights. Everyone's taken all my rights.
You need to first of all, you need to play text RPs, and then in our game that I've played you to, I need you to join as Regulus. Yes! Please! It would be so good. All right, what are we reading today? You pick the thing.
So, this was proposed by one of our viewers, one of our peons, if you will.
Okay.
He's mentioned this was good. These are good no sleeps. Daniel again says they are, and I trust his opinion. Do you? Let's get into it.
Whose opinion was it again?
It was Daniel. You know Daniel?
No. Who?
Don't know Danny?
Danny? I'm so sorry, Danny. How could I forget? my sweet Daniel. I didn't mean to.
On a first name basis with him.
Why don't you give me Daniel's article? A classic.
Daniel didn't make it. Daniel only recommended it. This is by 1,000 vultures. All of them collaborated on this.
That's crazy feat of animal ingenuity. You know, they always say if you get enough monkeys on typewriters in a room, but actually it's just 1,000 vultures.
Exactly.
Is all it takes.
Well, you need infinite monkeys, but only 1,000 vultures.
Well, I'm already a little worried because this was written by birds, but they're talking about footsteps is the name of the article, so I feel like they're
maybe
not
they
writing
just
what
have a
they
fetish.
know.
You know, maybe they know it better than most people.
Yeah, they're like, God, if only we had toes.
No, it's like when you see like a Twitter artist and one part of the body is suspiciously high detailed.
Yeah, it's like incredibly high quality.
He is like, I know what you are.
Wow, you really rendered that armpit. That's crazy.
You know what you're doing. Let's get into it. This is long, so I apologise for that. I've said that many a time. Get it?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I get
You want me
it.
to explain it to you?
You're implying that your cock is large.
What the
but
fuck?
I disagree.
Can you not? That's not what I meant.
Well, what did you mean?
I meant like if I was like working at Starbucks, because I always fuck up sandwiches.
What would that have to do with this is long?
The sandwich is too long. I made it too long. It's like a foot
And
long.
Starbucks makes sandwiches?
Yeah. No,
You mean Subway?
No, it's Starbucks. I'm doubling down. It was Starbucks.
I mean, I guess they have like the breakfast sandwiches,
really
but they really come in
stretched out
one
cup of coffee.
size.
It's like just grabbing a cup of coffee and like MS Paint and stretching it out. This is long, so I apologise for that.
Please continue.
What the sick shit you were talking about. I've never had to tell this story with enough detail to actually explain it all the way. But it is true, and it happened when I was about 6 years old. In a quiet room, if you press your ear against the pillow, you can hear your heartbeat. Don't I fucking know it. As a kid, the muffled rhythmic beat sounded like soft footsteps on the carpeted floor. And so as a kid, almost every other night, some nights where I was an adult, but just as I was about to drift off to sleep, I would hear these footsteps and be ripped back to consciousness, terrified. For my entire childhood, I lived with my mother in a fairly nice neighbourhood that was in a transitional phase. Congratulations. People of low economic means were gradually moving in, and my mother and I were two of the
What is with no sleep riders and all being people of an upper crust, so it seems?
You said
They let the poor...
You said the opposite.
No.
People of lower economic means were gradually moving in, and my mother and I were two of those people.
Oh, I didn't get the compound sentence part.
Maybe
I missed the part after the comma.
Classics.
I thought they were implying that the neighborhood was nice till all these people moved in. You know what? 1,000 vultures, that's my bad because I judged you based on a prior article from another person.
You'll be first up against the wall.
No, I apologize. All I can be is sorry for that is all that I am.
I would never apologise in my life to the pause. We lived in the kind of house you see being transported in 2 pieces on the interstate. My mum took good care of it. I love the idea that I go to such lengths to like deny being sexist, but I'm just openly classist.
Yeah, which is funny because you don't even live in London, so it's crazy.
What do you mean?
Oh, you don't remember that? The other person I did a podcast with forever ago was like everywhere outside of the whatever district is like fucking I forgot. Yeah,
and there are a lot of woods surrounding the neighbourhood that I would play in and explore during the day. But at night, as things often do to a kid, they took on a more sinister feeling. I kept seeing Nosferatu wandering around.
No, that's not a movie for children.
I would hate. Well, it's not. I would hate to see him like on the streets, like going to the club. You know.
Me personally, I don't have hate in my heart. I would have been like, "Hi, Nosferatu. Hi, good morning."
That just means okay. So you're a centrist, is what you're saying. So you just accept that. That's not just right. Who's out there doing his thing. Whereas I have righteous justice in my heart. And I would.
What does Nosferatu even do? I haven't seen the movie yet.
He's a vampire, and he's a metaphorical assaulter.
Oh,
and you're good, and he's your friend. You
I
hang
didn't
out
know.
in the same circles.
I'm so fucking sorry. I thought it was a movie about being a monster.
He really helped me out when I was going through a tough time.
In my defense, the way people talked about Nosferatu on like Twitter, I thought it was a movie about someone who wanted to fuck the vampire.
No, the audience, some sickos in the audience want to fuck the vampire.
I
Characters
see.
very much do not want to.
Okay, I had a very different version of what the movie was.
I've not seen it.
That's very funny, though.
To be fair.
No.
I'm speaking with such authority, I've never seen it.
Well, I heard it's a really long one.
I've said that many a time. When I was at Starbucks.
I'm so done with you as a concept.
I thought you said as a content creator. I was like, this is my
No, no, as a concept. I'm removing the concept of Tanhoney from you.
No!
You know, I got to brag about you recently because one of my friends
So I guess
is
you're
getting in
not
the
doing
space.
it. It doesn't be as a concept.
One of my, you know what? Never mind. I don't want
No,
to.
tell me about my pride.
So one of my friends is getting into Space Station 13. I was like, well, did you know Tanhoney, when he was a child, was so annoying that the founders named a monkey after him?
It's fucked up because it's the test subject monkey, so I'm like Diavolo.
Well, he also has a paper captain's hat, which implies that he thinks he's running the show, but he's not.
It's fucked. You're reading too much into that. No, that's not part of it. But it is like,
it
because I guarantee that monkey survives very few rounds. It is the Diavolo loop that I'm trapped in.
It's fucked
And
up.
I got hit by Gold Experience Requiem as a child. The fucking assistant's going towards me like, stay back! Stay away from me! This, coupled with the fact that, due to the nature of our house, there was a fairly large crawl space underneath, filled my mind with imaginary monsters and inescapable scenarios, which would consume my thoughts when I was awoken by the footsteps. I told my mum about the footsteps, and she said that I was just imagining things. There's no such thing as feet.
I mean, for an article written by 1,000 vultures, it makes sense.
I persisted enough that she blasted my ears with water from a turkey baster once just to placate me, since I thought that would help. What are you talking about?
Wait, where was this at? I got lost.
It's the start of the third paragraph. I'm not making that up.
Shit.
What?
Never mind, we're good.
You need
Continue.
to poopy?
No, keep going.
Of course it didn't. Despite all the creepiness and footsteps, the only weird thing that ever happened was that every now and then I would wake up on the bottom bunk despite having gone to sleep on the top. But this wasn't really weird, since I'd sometimes get up to piss or get something to drink. I can remember just going back to sleep on the bottom bunk. I'm an only child, so it didn't matter. This would happen once or twice a week, but waking up on the bottom bunk wasn't too terrifying. But one night I didn't wake up on the bottom bunk. I had heard the footsteps, but was too far gone to be woken up by them.
If you do that every time they say footsteps, I will kill you.
But I have to. It's like score. But when I was awoken, it wasn't from the sound of footsteps or a nightmare, but because I was cold, really cold. When I opened my eyes, I saw stars. I was in the woods. I sat up immediately and tried to figure out what was going on. I thought I was dreaming, but that didn't seem right. No, neither did me being in the woods. This is a classic where his innie took control and took him to the woods.
Over time, yeah.
Yeah, as a 6-year-old. There was a deflated pool float right in front of me. One of those ones shaped like a shark. There's more imagery. You understand?
Yeah, like in the business world, how you have to be a shark.
Oh, I meant because he mentioned the transitional period earlier.
And the Blahaj.
Yeah, Blahaj stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, Tan's in the know, guys, so watch out.
What do you mean by that? There's only added to
He
the
keeps
surreal
up on the
feeling,
latest trends.
but after a while it seemed like I wasn't going to wake up because I wasn't asleep. I stood up to orient myself, but I didn't recognise these woods. I played in the woods by my house all the time, and so I knew them really well. But if these weren't the same woods, then how could I get out? I've noticed something they're right. They keep saying, like, they pick a word they really like and keep saying it over and over again.
Yeah.
I took a step and felt a shooting pain in my foot, which knocked me back to where I'd just been laying. I had stepped on a thorn. A single thorn. By the light of the moon, I could see that they were everywhere. It's just like a ninja tool. It's like someone scattered on the floor, you know what I mean? Those things.
Yeah, cock drop?
Yeah. Naruto's after you in the woods at 3 a.m. Don't call Naruto at 3 a.m. He shows up.
The footsteps of the shadow clones. They've been waiting.
That'd be a shitty ninja. He would not pass his Hokage exam. You can hear his footsteps.
Facts. You know what's fucked up?
But
We know why shadow clones are special. No one in the series ever made use of the normal clone technique.
okay, was it? What do you mean?
So, the whole reason Naruto learns shadow clones is because he's like a kid in Kid Ninja School, right?
Right, yeah.
And they're
I
like,
know
you need to
this.
learn the clone technique, and he can't do it because he's a fuck.
He's a failure. Yeah.
But they act like it's this basic technique that all ninjas need to learn and use. No one ever uses the clone technique in the entire series. No adult ninjas. If they do something, you know what they do? They turn into like a log and teleport away.
I've seen them do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they never do the clone technique, so it's clearly not that important to learn.
Well,
It's
maybe
never
this
once been useful.
Maybe this one's a bullying.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it
Maybe.
works because he grew up to be a man. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then abandon his kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just how it goes. Well, sometimes that's how it goes when you're on that grind set, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hokage grinds.
Yeah. You know,
Anyway,
he
please
had to
continue.
dispense of all the weaker parts of himself to achieve his career goals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, and you can do the same if you subscribe to my course.
For only $20 a week.
In a second. I looked at my other foot, but it was fine. And as a matter of fact, so was the rest of me. I didn't have another scratch on me, and I wasn't even that dirty. I cried for a little bit and then stood back up. I didn't know which way to go, so I just picked a direction, west. I resisted the urge to call out, since I wasn't sure I wanted to be found by who or what might be out there. I walked for what seemed like hours. I tried to walk in a straight line, and tried to course correct when I had to take detours, but I was a kid and I was afraid. There weren't any howls or screams, and only once did I hear any voice that scared me. It sounded like a crying baby. I think now that it was just a cat, but I panicked. I ran veering in different directions. It sounds like he's split up into shadow clones, maybe you're right. To avoid big fix of bushes and collapsed trees. And I was paying close attention to where I stepped, because by that point my feet were in pretty bad shape. I paid too much attention to where I was stepping and not enough to where those steps were leading. It was not long after hearing the cry of the blood whistle, I saw something that filled me with a kind of despair I haven't experienced since. It was the pool float. The shark pool float, if you recall. I was only 10 feet from where I'd woken up. You see, the thoughts keep coming back to it. This is all metaphorical.
This is fucked up.
Yeah. This wasn't magic or some supernatural space bending. I was lost. Up until that moment, I thought more about getting out of the woods than how I got in. But being back at the beginning caused my mind to swim.
Have you thought about
Top 10 rappers that...
what are the woods? What are the woods full of?
Okay, what are they full of? Let's go into this. Let's continue this reading of it.
No.
No, I mean, let's
what
continue
are
this
woods?
metaphorical reading. Is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. What are woods full of?
Trees.
And what are closets made of?
Woods. Generally.
So it's almost as though
He's
they're
trapped
trapped
in the
inside the
closet.
closet.
Well,
There
I
you
say he, but perhaps not.
Perhaps not.
But I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think the narrator's even specified the gender actually. So maybe he's in one.
Yeah. It's only been we don't know what gender the 1,000 vultures are.
Well, presumably they have a lot of different ones.
Yeah. Unless it's like an
So in a hive mind,
all group.
If you're in a hive mind and you've got different genders in the hive mind, is it like democracy? The majority gender?
Well, no. This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Because the implication of a hive mind, because gender is not the same thing as sex, right?
Right.
And the implication of a hive mind is you're all of one mind. So you'd presumably all be of the... it depends on what your hive mind is, right?
Okay.
Is it like Jamilu's thing where it's like a bunch of people have access to the same knowledge, or is it literally like everyone is one collective mind in multiple bodies?
Well, I presume the 1,000 vultures had some measure of individuality still.
Okay, so then that's a good point. But they're not really a hive mind then, they're more of a collective.
Okay, well,
and the members of that
artist's collective, yeah.
Yeah. We're having very thought-provoking philosophy in the no sleep
Did
article.
you say provoking just now?
No, thought-provoking.
Okay, change it. What was I saying? How was I going to get out? At that time, I thought the North Star was just the brightest star, and so I looked and found the brightest one and followed it. Eventually, things started to look more familiar, and when I saw the ditch, a dirt ditch my friends and I would have dirt clod wars in, I knew I had made it out. By that point, I was walking really slowly because my feet hurt so much, but I was so happy to be close to home that I broke into a light jog. when I actually saw the roof of my house over a neighbouring lower set house, I let out a light sob and ran faster. I just wanted to be home. I had already decided that I wouldn't say anything because I had no idea what I could possibly say. I would get back in the house somehow, clean up and get in bed. My heart sunk, and as I rounded the corner, and my house came fully into view. Every light in the house was on. I knew my mom was up, and I knew I would have to explain, or try to explain, where I had been. And I couldn't even figure out where to start, so this is actually going back to the metaphorical reading now. It's the fear of family. Their reaction.
No, good point.
Let's see how it goes. My run becoming a jog, which became a walk, which became a jog, sorry, I almost YouTube pooped it. I saw her silhouette through the blinds. Although I was worried about how to explain things to her that didn't matter to me at that point, I walked up the couple of steps to the porch and put my hand on the doorknob and turned. Presumably he turned the doorknob, not just on the spot. Right before I pushed it over. 2 arms wrapped around me and pulled me back. I screamed as loud as I could. Mom! Help me! Please! Mom! The feeling of being so close to being safe and then being physically pulled away from it filled me with a kind of dread that is, even after all these years, indescribable. The door I had been torn away from opened, and a flash of hope shot through my heart, but it wasn't my mom. It was a man, and he was enormous.
Okay, so the transition story wasn't about the character, it was about their parent.
Maybe not. I'm not seeing it.
You don't think?
No, I don't see it.
No, but it wasn't his mom, because now it's a man.
I don't see it. No.
Really?
This is bouncing off me.
Wow.
This is being parried by me. Reese.
You're parrying my analysis.
Yeah.
Actually, do you have a source?
I thrashed around and kicked at the shins of the person holding me, while also trying to get away from the person who had just come out of my house. You know what? Here's the metaphor origin. These people, Akatsuki, right? From Naruto? That's them.
The Akatsuki.
Akatsuki, yeah. It's Itachi and the fish guy.
Okay.
Of course, it's not
this
a
is
trans reading, it's Sasuke. Of course.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. See, Sasuke.
Yep. Yeah. People have historically been queer baited by Naruto before.
Exactly.
So it only makes sense.
Only on a level. I was scared, but I was furious. Let me go! Where is she? Where's my mom? What did you do to her? Of course, because Itachi killed the Uchiha clan.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's all clicking now.
All makes sense now. As my throat stung from screaming, I was drawing.
I understand it now.
Game over. The sound that had been present for longer than I had perceived it. Honey, please calm down. I've got you. It sounded like my mom. The arms loosened and set me down, and as man approaching me blocked out the porch light with his head, I noticed his clothes. He was a cop. That's the scariest part of this story.
Oh, fuck.
I turned to face the voice behind me. Geographically, I'm so confused on where everyone's located right now. Everyone's behind him. No matter which way he's facing. And so it really was my mom. Everything was okay. I began to cry, and the 3 of us went inside. The 3 of us. So I thought there were 2 men and him. So now one of them is gone.
No.
She did the log thing, I presume, and replaced one of them.
It's the mom, the big guy. She was the one holding him.
The big guy is the cop.
Yeah. It's just those 2 and him. His mom was holding him.
Okay. Why did you get him in a headlock when you saw him?
I think she was trying to hug him.
I'm so glad you're home, sweetie. She doesn't talk like that. Oh, I'm so glad you're home, sweetie. I was worried I'd never see you again. By that point, she was crying too. Don't know why she's SpongeBob SquarePants. What? I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just wanted to come home. I'm sorry. It's okay. Just don't ever do that again. I'm not sure me or my shins could take it. Shins. It's... A little laughter broke through my sobs and I smiled a bit. Well, I'm sorry for kicking you, Mom. Why'd you have to grab me like that? I was just afraid that you'd run away again. I was confused. What do you mean? We found your note on your pillow, she said, and pointed at the piece of paper that the police officer was sliding across the table. We're on a table now?
Yeah.
We teleported?
Don't worry about a thing, okay? The setting manifests into being as it's needed for the
Okay.
prose.
I picked up the notes and read it. It feels like we went into a different scene at some point. We just didn't notice.
It's like when you're watching a play and like people in the background are hurriedly rushing items around. That's what's happening.
It was a running away letter. I watched in awe as it sprinted across the table. It said that I was unhappy, never wanted to see her or any of my friends again. The police officer exchanged a few words with my mum on the porch while I stared at the letter. You know what it makes me think of? Have you seen Super Nanny?
I know of Super Nanny.
There's this one clip where there's like a 4-year-old who's like, you know how like sometimes as a kid he's like got weirdly like high developed language?
Yeah.
He's like, he was sick of Super Nanny. He's like, I've got something to say to you. I'm leaving and you're never going to see this face again. It cuts to this little tiny kid like walking down the street at night time.
That's so good.
I remember what he says. He goes, Grace, I've tried to be patient with you, but you are pushing me to the edge.
Me with you.
Okay. I didn't remember writing a letter. Me in nursery class be like... I didn't remember anything about any of this. But even if I sometimes went to the bathroom at night and didn't remember, or even if I could have gone into the woods on my own, even if all that could have been true, the only thing I knew at that point was, this isn't how you spell my name. I didn't write this letter. Does his mum not know how to spell his name?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not his mom after all.
Maybe it's, yeah, and it turned out my mom, Slenderman. I would scream if that happened. Would you be scared?
Yeah, if it was Slenderman, I'd get scared. Yeah, probably.
I'd pretend that I didn't notice that he was Slenderman at first and be like, I just need to go grab something. You'd be like, what? And I'm like, oh, just the car keys. It's like, your car keys are on the table. It's like, I'd be so scared.
Yeah, me. You know what? Actually, if I was near you, Tan, I would man up to protect you from Slenderman. I'd be like, hey, leave him alone.
And as you step up to
like,
defend me,
damn.
you feel 2 hands on your back.
It's only natural to
Yeah,
push.
so I can escape.
Take him, Slenderman! Runs away.
It's like a joke. It's like, now I can escape. Sorry, Donald, but I'll keep living a happy life.
And then you're like looking back, snickering, and then you bump into something. It's Jeff the Killer.
I'm like this Jotaro. It's like, yo, you truly are the lowest scum.
Jotaro, you have to understand.
The only thing I
love that JoJo thing pathetic villains do where they're like
surgery.
They're like on their knees but sort of up on one knee and their hand to the sky like please.
Okay.
Well, so are we reading this part 2? What's going
Let's
on?
read
What's
part 2.
happening
The
today?
next one is called Balloons. You can read this one. I read the first one. And I'm so tired because I'm so healthy now because I've been running on a treadmill for like an hour.
Everybody, please clap.
Please
Tan
clap.
Honey's working out
I'm
again.
so
We're all
brave.
very happy for him. He is. I'm happy for him. Everybody, please write in the comments. Never mind. That's
Please
weird.
write in the comments what you are thankful for from Tan.
I was gonna say what your ideal bodybuilding is for Tan. I'm like, that's weird.
I want you to even win like your ideal body for Tan. It was like your Tan Honey fantasies. What? But if you do want to give those, I can't stop you.
Yeah, I mean, if he had a list, it would be helpful so he knows what the people want.
Yeah, the community survey.
Side note, I'm reeling. This was posted October 2011. This is a 14-year-old story.
Yeah,
Dan.
there are people in the world in our server younger than this story, probably.
Well, also just like the idea that something lives this long and we're still talking about it is crazy. I hope people talk about our stuff in 14 years.
I hope I
you know
live
what
14 more years.
Well, let's not get crazy. I mean, you're already halfway to the grave.
You like Google how long do Tan Honeys live. You're like crying.
Oh no!
This is 29.
No, he's dying. Balloons. A couple days ago, I posted a story called Footsteps here on /NoSleep. There were a number of questions that made me curious about certain details about my childhood, and so I spoke with my mother. Exacerbated by my question, she said, "Why don't you just tell them about the goddamn balloons if they're so interested?" As soon as she said that, I remembered so much about my childhood that I had
Got
forgotten.
balloon blast. The balloons!
The story will
It's like the
provide some
start
greater...
of, not us, Nope, with the monkey and the balloons popping. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, now I want to watch Nope again. Fuck.
There's no
Monkey
fear.
went crazy, dude. The story will provide some greater context for the previous story, which I think you should read first. Though the order isn't of vital importance.
This is a
Reading that
prequel.
story...
Jar Jar's going to show up in this one.
Reading that story first will put you in my place more effectively, since I remembered the events of Footsteps first. If you have questions or anything, feel free to ask and I'll try to answer them. Also, both stories are long, so heads up on that. I'm just hesitant to leave out any details that might be important. When I was 5 years old, I went to an elementary school that, from what I've come to understand, was really adamant about the importance of learning through activity. It was part of a new program designed to allow children to rise at their own pace, and to facilitate this, the school encouraged teachers to come up with really inventive lesson plans. So here's why this isn't believable to me.
Right?
This was written in 2011, so let's assume this person's at least 18, probably older.
Okay, yeah.
This would have been in, the 90s? And I don't believe that any school would have cared
Maybe it was a
enough
hippie commune, I
to
don't know.
implement such a program. You're right. As part of a new blah, 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 blah. Each teacher was given the latitude to create his or her own themes, which would run for the duration of the grade, and all the lessons in math, reading, etc. would be designed in the spirit of the theme. These themes were called groups. There was a space group, a sea group, an earth group, and the group I was in, community.
The four elements.
Hell yeah. Space,
I'm a
sea, earth,
community
and
member.
community. In kindergarten in this country, you don't learn much except how to tie your shoes and how to share. So most of it isn't very memorable. I disagree. I feel like I learned math and...
I was also going to disagree because I didn't learn how to tie my shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't...
Oh.
And look at me, do you think I should, bitch? I don't mean that. I only meant that as like a endearing use of the B word, by the way. I respect women.
Tan Honey
Yeah?
says he's not a misogynist.
I'm not.
Yet. What was the first word that came to his mind?
I'm not.
Think about that. Think about that.
There's no proof. I've scrambled
Wow.
all of it.
Points at the entirety of aetheral space.
There's not. I respect these women.
I even wrote one in the main crew. Is that not enough for you?
Oh, these people. They're so needy.
These fucking wokes. Ah. I only remember two things very clearly. I was the best at writing my name the right way, and the balloon project, which was really the hallmark of the community group, since it was a pretty clever way to show how a community functioned at a really basic level. Is he still hyped on his shit he did when he was 5? You've probably heard of this activity. On one Friday, I remember it being Friday because I was excited about the project and it being the end of the week, toward the beginning of the year, we walked
I
into
do
the
love the
classroom
name
in
of the
the morning.
balloon project.
Hell
the
yes.
little kids in site lab coats. We wanted to create the world's most powerful balloon, and we succeeded.
But at what cost? And saw that there was a fully inflated balloon, tied off with string taped to each of our desks. Sitting on each of our desks was a marker, a pen, a piece of paper, and an envelope. The project was to write a note on the paper, put it in the envelope, and attach it to the balloon, which we could draw a picture on if we wanted. Most of the kids started fighting over the balloons because they wanted different colors, but I started on my note, which I had thought a lot about. All the notes had to follow a loose structure, but we were allowed to be creative within those boundaries. My note was something like this. Hi, you found my balloon! My name is Name, and I attend blank elementary school. You can keep the balloon, but I hope you write me back. I like Mighty Max, exploring, building forts, swimming, and friends. What do you like? Write me back soon. Here's $1 for the mail. On the dollar, I wrote, for stamps, right across the front, which my mom said was unnecessary. To be fair, I don't know about the idea of writing your a child's home address and then sending it into the ether.
It also doesn't say where to mail it to, even if that was the goal.
I guess the school, right?
Okay.
Which actually makes more sense. So never mind. On the dollar, I wrote for stamps right across the front, which my mom said was unnecessary, but I thought it was genius, so I did it. The teacher took a Polaroid of each of us with our balloons and had us put them in the envelope along with our letter. They also included another letter that I assume explained the nature of the project and sincere appreciation for anyone's participation in writing back and sending photos of their city or neighborhood. That was the whole idea, to build a sense of community without having to leave the school and to establish safe contact with other people. It seemed like such a fun idea.
Until the creature wrote back.
Over the next
I
couple
love
weeks, the
those
letters-
fucking two sentence horror stories about the creature.
But then the creature wrote back.
I love it when it's the first half is like, I enjoyed my coffee. Too bad the beans came from the creature.
Over the next couple weeks, the letters started to roll in.
Along
Most came
the
with pictures.
creature.
No. Well, now you used up the second sentence. We have to finish. It's 2 sentences. Most came with pictures of different landmarks, and each time a letter would come in, the teacher would pin the picture on the big wall map we had put up, showing where the letter had come from and how far the balloon had traveled. It was a really smart idea, because we actually looked forward to coming to school to see if we had gotten our letter. For the duration of the year, we had 1 day a week where we could write back to our pen pal or another student's pen pal in case our letter hadn't come in yet. Mine was one of the last to arrive. When I came into the classroom, I looked at my desk and once again didn't see any letter waiting for me. But as I sat down, the teacher approached me and handed me an envelope. I must have looked so excited because as I was about to open it, she put her hand on mine to stop me and said, "Please don't be upset." I didn't understand what she meant. Why would I be upset now that my letter had come? Initially, I was mystified that she would even know what was in the envelope, but now I realized that, of course, the teachers had screened the contents to make sure there was nothing obscene. But all the same, how could I be disappointed? When I opened the envelope, I understood. There was no letter. The only thing in the envelope was a Polaroid, but I couldn't really make out what it was. It looked like a patch of desert, but it was too blurry to decipher. It appeared as if the camera had been moved while the picture was being taken. There was no return address, so I couldn't even write back if I wanted to. I was crushed. The school year pressed on, and the letters had stopped coming for nearly all of the other students. After all, you can only continue a written correspondence with a kindergartner for so long. Everyone, including myself, had lost interest in the letters almost completely. Then I got another envelope. My excitement was rejuvenated, and I reveled in the fact that I was still getting a letter when most of the other pen pals had abandoned their involvement. It made sense that I received another delivery. There had been nothing but a blurry picture in the first one, so this was probably to make up for that. But again, there was no letter at all. Just another picture. This one was more distinguishable, but I still didn't understand it. The photograph was angled way up, catching the top corner of a building, and the rest of the image was distorted by a lens flare from the sun. Because the balloons didn't travel very far, and because they were all launched on the same day, the board became a bit cluttered, and so the policy for the students still exchanging letters became that they could take the photographs home. My best friend Josh had the second highest number of pictures taken home by the end of the year. His pen pal was really cooperative and sent him pictures from all around the neighboring city. Josh took home, I think, 4 pictures. I took home nearly 50.
Giga Chad.
The envelopes.
It's like walking like on his tricycle.
The envelopes were all opened by the teacher, but after a while I stopped even looking at the pictures. However, I saved them in one of my drawers that housed my collections of rocks, baseball cards, comic book cards, Marvel metal cards, for those who might remember.
I don't remember anything.
And little miniature baseball batting helmets that I'd get out of a vending machine at Winn-Dixie after T-ball games.
Is that real?
But the school year...
Is that a thing in America?
What?
Winn-Dixie, T-ball, these real concepts?
Yes. Winn-Dixie is a grocery store that I don't think is around anymore. And T-ball is... So when you're really little, right, and you like sports, you want to play baseball, but you can't because you're too little and too silly to be able to hit a ball coming at you. So what T-ball is there's a little stand, and they put the ball in the stand, and then you bat it from the stand. Like it's just sitting there in front of you, and you bat it.
Real country.
It's really... Yeah, I mean, you do it when you're like 5, not any older.
So I heard about the Super Bowl. That's what you kids are doing?
Yeah, I used to T-ball when I was really, really little, like 4 or 5, yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, with the school year over, my attention turned to other things. My mom had gotten me a small snow cone machine for Christmas that year, and Josh had really coveted it, so much so that his parents bought him a slightly nicer one for his birthday, which was toward the end of the school year. All I could be is sorrier for my snow machine.
Josh has coveted the endowments of his colleagues.
He was full of dread. What was it? It's dread, envy, malice, and frolic?
Dread, woe, malice, and frolic. You know, it's
so there's a lot of
negative.
That summer, we had the idea that we would set up a snow cone stand to make money. We thought we'd make a fortune selling snow cones at $1. Josh lived in a different neighborhood, but we eventually decided that my neighborhood would be better because there were a lot of people who cared for their lawns. The yards in my neighborhood were slightly bigger. We did this for 5 weekends in a row until my mom told us that we had to stop, and I've only recently come to understand why she did that. On the 5th weekend, Josh and I were counting our money. Because we both had a machine, we each had a separate stack of money that we put together into one stack, and we then split it evenly. We'd made a total of $16 that day, and as Josh paid out my $5th, a feeling of profound surprise consumed me. The dollar said, for stamps.
It shows him like flipping through Pokemon cards in his edit.
Oh wait, no, this is actually freaky. That implies that like the guy who's sending him all these pictures like came to his stand. Yeah. Oh, that is a little creepy. Hold on. They might be cooking. Josh noticed my shock and asked if he had miscounted. I told him about the dollar and he said, "That's so cool, man." As I thought about it, I came to agree. The idea that the dollar had made it right back to me after changing so many hands floored me. I rushed inside to tell my mom, but my excitement coupled with her being distracted by a phone call made my story incomprehensible, and she responded simply by saying, "Oh wow, that's neat." Frustrated, I ran back outside and told Josh I had something to show him. Back in my room, I opened the drawer and took out the stack of envelopes and showed him some of the pictures. I started with the first picture, and we went through about 10 before Josh lost interest and asked if I wanted to go play in the ditch. A dirt ditch down the street from my house. Didn't he also have one in the first story?
Yeah. The dirt ditch!
Hell yeah. Before his mom came to pick him up.
My favourite characters are coming back.
Fuck yeah. We had a dirt war for a while, but it was interrupted several times by rustling in the woods around us. There were raccoons and stray cats that lived in there, but this was making a little too much noise, and we traded guesses at what it was in an attempt to scare each other. My last guess was that it was a mummy, but in the end, Josh kept insisting that it was a robot because of the sounds that we heard. Oh god, it's going to be the clicking of the camera, isn't it? Before we left, he got a little serious.
Well, we just right in the complete left, so it was like, it was the wasps. From the wasp room.
Yeah, shout out!
It was all the same universe.
You heard it, didn't you? It sounded like a robot. You heard it too, right? I had heard it, and since it sounded mechanical, I agreed that it was probably a robot. It's only now that I understand what we heard. When we got back, Josh's mom was waiting for him at the kitchen table with my mom. Josh told his mom about the robot. Our moms laughed, and Josh went home. My mom and I ate dinner, and then I went to bed. I didn't stay in bed for long before I crept out and decided that due to the day's events, I would revisit the envelopes, since now the whole affair seemed much more interesting. I took the first envelope and set it on the floor and set the blurry desert Polaroid on top. I laid the second envelope right next to it and placed the oddly angled Polaroid of a building's top corner on top, and did this with each picture until they formed a grid that was about 5 by 10. I was always taught to be careful with things that I was collecting, even if I wasn't sure they were valuable. I noticed that the pictures gradually became more decipherable. There was a tree with a bird on it, a speed limit sign, power line, a group of people walking into some building.
Capture.
And then I saw something that vexed me so powerfully that I can now, as I write this, distinctly remember feeling dizzy and capable of only a single repeating thought. Why am I in this picture? In this photograph of the group of people entering the building, I saw myself holding hands with my mother in the very back of the crowd of people. We were at the very edge of the photo, but it was undeniably us. And as my eyes swam over the sea of Polaroids, I became increasingly anxious. It was a really odd feeling. It wasn't fear, it was the feeling you get when you're in trouble. I'm not sure why I was flooded with that feeling, but there I sat floundering in the distinct sense that I had done something wrong. And this feeling only intensified as I looked on at the rest of the photos after that. The one that had so powerfully struck me. I think there's a grammar mistake there. I was in every photo. None of them were close shots. None of them were only of me. But I was in every single one of them. Off to the side, in the back, bottom of the frame. Did the teachers not see this? Some of them only had the tiniest
part
of my face.
Check you out.
At the very edge of the photo.
They were too busy planning C lessons, okay?
True. But nevertheless, I was there. I was always there. I didn't know what to do. Your mind works in funny ways as a kid, but there was a large part of me that was afraid of getting in trouble simply for still being up. Since I already had the looming feeling of having done something wrong, I decided that I would wait until tomorrow. The next day, my mom was off work and spent most of the morning cleaning up around the house. I watched cartoons, I imagine, and waited until I thought it was a good time to show her the Polaroids. When she went out to get the mail, I grabbed a couple of the pictures and put them on the table in front of me as I sat waiting for her to come back in. When returned, she was already opening the mail and threw some junk mail into the trash can, and I said, "Mom, can you come here for a second? I have these pictures. Just give me a minute, honey. I need to mark these on the calendar." After a minute or two, she came and stood behind me and asked what I needed. I could hear her shuffling with the mail behind me, but I just looked at the Polaroids and told her about them. As I explained more and pointed to the pictures, her frequent uh-huhs and okays decreased, and she was suddenly completely quiet and only making a little noise with the mail. The next noise I heard from her sounded as if she was trying to catch her breath in a room that had no air left in it. At last, her struggling gasps were conquered, and she simply dropped the remaining mail on the table and ran to the kitchen to get the phone. "Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't know about these. Don't be mad at me." With the phone pressed to her ear, she was walking/running back and forth and shouting into it. I nervously fidgeted with the mail sitting next to my Polaroids. The top envelope had something sticking out of it that I thoughtlessly and anxiously pulled on until it came out. It was another Polaroid. Confused, I thought that somehow one of my Polaroids had slipped into the stack when she threw the mail down, but when I turned it over and looked at it, I realized that I had not seen this one before. To my dismay, it was me. But this one was a much closer shot. I was surrounded by trees and was smiling, but it wasn't just me, I noticed. Josh was there too. This was us from yesterday. I started yelling for my mom, who was still screaming into the phone. I repeatedly yelled for her until she finally responded with, "What?" And I could only think to ask, "Who are you calling?" "I'm talking with the police, honey." "But why?" "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do anything." She answered me with a response that I never understood until I was forced to revisit these events from the earliest years of my life. She grabbed the envelope off the table and the picture of Josh and I and spun and slid, landing next to the other Polaroids in front of me. She held the envelope up to my eyes, but I could only look at her and watch as all the color began draining out of her face. With tears welling up in her eyes, she said that she had to call the police because there was no postmark.
No postmark. Only Lucretia.
Well, that means that they put the mail directly in their mailbox.
Lucretia,
Can I be real a second?
Yeah.
I don't think this one was a masterclass, but I actually liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I thought it was I really
Danny,
do.
You did alright. Daniel?
I'm not used to you giving me a recommendation for a no-sleep article that isn't dog shit.
Well, I didn't make the recommendation, I just stole it.
From who again?
From
Daniel?
Daniel, our friend Dan.
Good job, Daniel. Classic Daniel. How much time do we have left in our recording? It's
14 minutes.
Do we want to try and do boxes?
Maybe we'll see if people want to see it next time. Maybe they want to see us continue.
Oh, yeah, especially because boxes is much longer, I'm noticing. So I guess this will be a shorter pod. Let me get the comments open, shall I? There's nothing wrong with a shorter episode. What is length anyways, but an arbitrary...
I say that all the time.
I hate you more and more every day.
Why?
Not because you made a dick joke, but because when I did, you chastised me.
I wasn't making a dick joke. It was about my time at Subway.
I hate you so much.
Do you think I know?
JT says, "This is actually the average grocery store worker. Don't be fooled by their sob stories online. They all think of you as lesser. So remember on your next trip to Walmart, be sure to always go back to get something right before you pay and hold up the line. That'll show them who's boss. It's you. The customer is always right." Good advice from JT. Harass retail workers. Biggest Dorn 17 says, "This actually happens more than you think in blue-collar jobs. We were getting so many body parts, my boss started sewing them together to create homunculi and vile experiments sanctioned by neither God nor man. They were good workers and solid blokes, but they tried to unionize, so we had to throw them in the furnace." Shadelia says, "Wow, I hated that." Thumbs up. Not this podcast, though. This podcast is always a 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you very much.
Your loyalty. Appreciated.
Noted. You will make it to heaven.
So PC
coming in with our Marvel quip for the comments this week says, "Well, that's certainly a story someone wrote and published."
So PC, I need you to distract Kang.
Alpha
Would you
Girder
distract Kang
says,
for me if we were in that situation?
"Who's Kang?"
He's the villain who's not going to show off anymore because the actor got arrested.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was going to be the next Thanos, but now it's Doctor Doom. So there's all this build up to Kang, and then he's going to vanish in between movies.
That's very funny. Alpha Girder says, "Catching up on aetheral space in between DSCP, and I think I've discovered Darnell's aether ability. It's called Sonic Canary, and it works by peaking the microphone when I turn the volume up to listen to Tan read. Just got to Arc 8 and
Darnell's shitty audio always ruining Tanani's momentum. Finally, the real story comes out.
You know what,
Maybe
Alpha
you need
Girder?
a new mic.
Maybe you're right, Alpha Girder. Out of respect for you, I will no longer be reading Aetheral Space. I'm just going to let Tan do it, And then it'll be one volume. And it'll be good. Isn't that right, Jane?
Yeah.
You can read it all yourself.
No.
All you, at your own pace.
I need you, you're my friend.
No. I'm in the way of your story.
Don't know. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're my friend, you're really cool. And besides...
Holy shit! Holy shit! You know what? It's all you.
No, please.
You'll be in charge.
Don't, please.
You'll be in charge, and you'll have full creative freedom in all the voices.
Please, you're my editor. Please.
No, you can edit. I can teach you. You can do it yourself. Isn't that great?
No, you're my guiding star.
Shut the fuck up.
You're my guiding moonlight.
Shut up.
Please.
Daniel Zatgheim says, have
Danny.
either of you read the pen? Oh, is that Danny?
Yes, Dan.
Okay, I know who Daniel Zatgheim is. You kept calling him Danny. I was like, I don't know who Danny is.
You're not on first name basis?
No. A full name basis. Have either of you read the Pen Pal series from No Sleep? It's probably one of the only stories from there I would consider good. Also, least time I asked who was your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character. Now I demand to know your favorite Ace Attorney character. Confession, I haven't played Ace Attorney.
I don't remember her name, but I like the future scene girl from the time that Phoenix went on vacation. I thought she was funny.
I've never seen the series, so I hope this isn't a bad opinion to have, but I've always found the memes about Edgeworth funny. He's the guy with the red coat, right? And the frilly collar. Yeah.
That's respectable.
MT says, Pepsi in a glass bottle is always better than a can. It just is. That's actually true. Every soda is better in a glass bottle than a can. I don't know why. That's just how it is. Thoughts, Tanhoney?
I gotta say, I probably agree, but you're not always gonna find. I think if it's better in a can because you're used to it. No, it's better in a bottle. Because you're used to it.
Because you're used to it in a can.
So
if bottle was the norm, can would be the luxury.
Your smile would not be there.
That's true.
It's like the idea of I can plug something into your head that will just produce dopamine forever, but it's not as good unless there are periods without dopamine.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
And that's why 1,000 years of darkness will make the light seem ever brighter. Let's begin. Anomalous. Begin Advent. Is that it? Are we done?
I think so. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you in 1,000 years of darkness. Bye.
Bye.